Today I'm reacting to your Monday Night Raw Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether those are good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you're following me over on X, because I ask for your hot takes there after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every single WWE Premium Live event. And if you are looking for my nearly 1 hour review of this insane, potentially Raw of the Year episode, it's already up and available over on patreon.com/SantiZap with footage so that you can see exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Over there, we upload the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, and a whole bunch of other videos that use real footage that we can never post here because it would just get blocked due to copyright. So go check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap, link in the description, link in the pinned comment. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, folks, that's enough. Let's see what you guys sent in. Maxine winning the title is great. I'm really happy for her. She's clearly worked so hard to get better, but from a booking perspective, it opens up the Intercontinental title picture so anyone can win it, and it frees Becky to go back into the main event scene, which she has earned. Great decision. I actually completely agree with this statement here. These are the two major benefits of having Becky Lynch lose the Intercontinental Championship to Maxine Dupri. The first one, as you said, this completely frees up Becky Lynch, who is at the top of her game, doing some of the best work of her career, to go have those big main event feuds with the likes of Stephanie Vaquer, with the likes of Io Sky, and all of these other names that she's not been able to cross paths with since returning back to the WWE at this past WrestleMania. And then the other big benefit, as you said, is that having a Maxine Dupri as champion, which is still an insane thing to say out loud, it completely opens up the division so that the Intercontinental Championship is about as accessible as it's ever been. Anyone and everyone could step up to Maxine Dupri and challenge her for the Intercontinental Championship, and it would make sense because Maxine Dupri is not this inaccessible Hall of Famer main eventer like a Becky Lynch, which is funny to say considering Becky Lynch lost to a Maxine Dupri in the first place, which is why it's just so insane to even think about. But if you have like an Ivy Nile step up, you could have like a Lash Legend step up, the girls from the Judgment Day, you could have a returning Liv Morgan if you want to bounce this to another main eventer if you wanted to. The IC title picture is completely wide open. My only concern is that now that this title is off of a main eventer like a Becky Lynch, that WWE is going to turn the Women's Intercontinental Championship picture like what they did over on Friday Night SmackDown and completely kill the women's mid-card. That is obviously the worst case scenario, and I'm sincerely hoping that that doesn't end up happening. This was legitimately the only way to go. I'm so glad that WWE went with it. Maxine has worked incredibly hard to get to this moment, and beating Becky Lynch at Madison Square Garden was awesome. Now Becky and AJ can find themselves in War Games to fill their 5th spots. It cannot be understated the improvement of Maxine Dupri as an in-ring performer if you compare her in modern day today, which I still don't think that she's perfect, but if you compare her work to at this same time last year, she is leagues better. So we do have to give Maxine Dupri her flowers for significantly improving as an in-ring performer, and I acknowledge that. However, I have to just disagree with you that this is the only way to go. I think it would have been perfectly fine, and to a degree, maybe even better, for WWE to have an Intercontinental Championship clash between Becky Lynch and AJ Lee to really cement the legacy of the Women's Intercontinental Championship, because a lineage that goes Lyra Valkyria to Becky Lynch to AJ Lee is significantly more impressive than Lyra Valkyria, Becky Lynch, Maxine Dupri. We are seeing a major drop-off in terms of the big status star that is holding the Intercontinental Championship, and that wouldn't have been the case had they continued Becky Lynch and AJ Lee, but having it be for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. So I disagree that this was the only option. I still think it was a good option and a big shocking option, especially doing this in Madison Square Garden, but I've yet to fully come down to the conclusion that this was the best option available, because I think there were other ones. I think Cena's match was a great pick. It was a banger, and you could tell that he enjoyed it with the two of his close friends. Plus, the match was super fun. You could feel John really wanted the crowd to have a good time in his last Raw. I love this. This was a party. This was basically a house show. Like you said, this was about having fun. This was about fan service, about creating those last moments between Sheamus and Cena, between Cena and Rey Mysterio, while also giving the Madison Square Garden, the Monday Night Raw crowd as a whole, one last fun send-off, because this should feel like a party. This should be exciting. This shouldn't be like WrestlePalooza where the party was killed by Brock Lesnar. This should be something that we should be celebrating. In this match, this environment that was full of fan service moments like the triple "you can't see me," the triple off the top rope finishers on Cena, the 3 beats of the bottering, like all of that was just such a great fun way to have this match and have a send-off for Cena. Yeah, you could have done something different. You could have done another singles match, but I feel like this just checked off so many boxes and allows Cena to have more interactions in his final Monday Night Raw than he otherwise could have had it just been a singles match with somebody else. I don't know what I'm more shocked about. Maxine winning singles gold against Becky, Gunther getting his old theme back, Cena teaming up with Rey and Sheamus one last time, or Brock being on Netflix and many of us getting flashbacks from the 2010s with him, Punk, and Roman. Yeah, all of these things happened in one episode of Monday Night Raw, and you somehow left off Dolph Ziggler returning to the WWE. This was an absolutely insane episode of Monday Night Raw, and a reminder that when WWE actually puts in some effort, they can deliver some unforgettable episodes of Raw and SmackDown. During this build-up throughout the fall to the last Saturday night's main event, we were getting some dreadfully boring, painfully bad episodes of Raw and SmackDown, but now that we're building to something that matters, like Survivor Series War Games, the John Cena retirement show, WWE is actually pulling up their pants and realizing, okay, we're in big markets like Madison Square Garden, let's actually put in some effort and some time in writing a decent episode of Monday Night Raw, and what we got was one of the best Monday Night Raws of the year. Normally, for these hot takes, I have like one thing that happened as the thumbnail. You'll see in the thumbnail for this, I included like everything, because I didn't know what to pick, because this was such a monumental episode of Monday Night Raw in terms of just so many different things happening from beginning to the end of the show. Again, I go into significantly more detail in the Raw review on Patreon, so go check it out if you want more details. It's so unfortunate that neither Zack nor Dolph could advance, since they had both bigger impacts on Cena's career. No shade on LA Knight, but Dolph could have at least went over. Look, I don't disagree that having Zack Ryder and Dolph Ziggler win their matches and move on in the tournament would have been more exciting, but I get and I understand why they lost. First and foremost, in their time in WWE, both of these guys were known as professional losers. These were the guys that just constantly lost the big matches and WWE never pushed. So it's actually kind of on brand for Dolph Ziggler and Zack Ryder to lose. But additionally, these guys just simply don't work here. At the end of the day, the person that needed to stomach the loss, the person that would actually be impacted by losing, would be the actual WWE employees, LA Knight and Solo Sikoa. And I didn't want to see their stocks be damaged for the sake of one-off appearances that might not actually have a long-lasting impact like Zack Ryder and Dolph Ziggler. Again, I don't disagree that them winning would have made the tournament more exciting, but I'm trying to think of the long-term stock of the guys that are going to be here week in, week out in LA Knight and Solo Sikoa. And I actually think for the long-term health of their stock in the WWE, I think they made the right call by having Solo and LA Knight win their matches. I used to think that therapy just was never going to be for somebody like myself. I grew up in a pretty traditional household where emotions weren't really something that we talked about. In fact, if you were struggling with something, the answer often was just to tough it out. And if you were asking for help, it was just often seen as a weakness as opposed to a strength. And as a guy, there's this added extra layer where I was raised to believe that being emotional made you somehow less of a man. So of course, I bottled things up and convinced myself that handling everything alone was the right way to do it. But the truth is that simply just wasn't gonna work. I felt stuck, overwhelmed, and honestly kind of ashamed that I couldn't just simply deal with it. If any of that sounds familiar, then I promise you that you're not alone, because a lot of people still feel conflicted about therapy even now. That's why I'm proud that today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp to help break that stigma. BetterHelp connects you with licensed therapists who can help you unpack whatever it is that you're going through, offer real tools, and give you a fresh perspective, all from the comfort of your own space. BetterHelp accepts both HSA and FSA cards, making it even easier to prioritize your mental health. In 2024 alone, over 137,000 people used their HSA or FSA benefits for therapy through BetterHelp, so be sure to use yours before they expire. So if you've ever thought about trying therapy, make sure that you check out the link in the description, or just go to betterhelp.com/SantiZamp, where you're going to get 10% off your first month. Again, thank you again to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get you back to the wrestling that you came for. Symphony number 9 in E minor was my return of the night. So we've been hearing all of these rumors that WWE superstars have been politicking backstage to get their entrance themes back, and this is another one. I love this entrance theme for Gunther. Just wait until they're in Europe and the entire European crowd is chanting this. This didn't just feel like the return of an old theme. It also kind of felt like the return of an old Gunther, a guy named not Gunther, a guy named Walter. For those that don't know, this used to be his entrance theme when he was Walter in NXT UK. This was his entrance theme in the Independents before he even joined WWE. And this thing really is a marvel to behold when you can hear the entire crowd singing along to it. It'll take a while for the WWE universe to really get behind this song, but I'm telling you, in the long term, I think they made a right call by changing him to this entrance theme. But also, this begs the question, who else is going to get their old entrance themes back? I'm looking at you, Sheamus. Give me my damn limes back. I know this may seem crazy, but I wouldn't be shocked if he gets called up by this time next year with or without a title win. Look at the names that he's been in the ring with: Randy, Sammy, and now Gunther at 21. This young OG has been a non-stop face of NXT without even winning a singles title. I do believe that Javon should stay in NXT and win an NXT title and learn how to be the face of a brand, because this is a guy that could absolutely be a face of the entirety of the WWE in the future if WWE plays their cards right. Because he is so young, he has so much runway left that I do believe that within that runway, they should allow him a time to run as the face of NXT to learn how to be the face that runs the place. But man, Javon Evans is such a guarantee for the future. He is one of the talents that just reminds me that the business is going to be okay for a really long time. He's so good. He's so talented. Like you said, he's already trusted in terms of like the names that WWE has already put him in the ring with. Not only that, this guy at 21 just main evented in Madison Square Garden. That's crazy. Becky is the greatest women's wrestler ever, and it's not just me saying it. The way that she is quick to put over unproven talent like Maxine is amazing and selfless. I do want to take this moment to completely bury the notion of Becky Hogan. She took the whole Becky Hogan thing to heart by making it part of her gimmick, and then in a full circle roundabout way, proving to the world that she is not a Becky Hogan, that she is willing to put over the next generation of WWE women superstars, even unproven ones. Like you said, Maxine Dupree. Maxine Dupree, I'm not fully convinced by her. I still think that there is still a lot of room for improvement for Maxine Dupree, but for Becky Lynch to willingly do this, to have an entire program where she went 0-3 against Maxine Dupree, should speak volumes about Becky Lynch's desire to build the division and keepsake the WWE women's division moving forward. Seeing these three in the ring for one final time makes me feel a little bit emotional. One by one, these greats of my generation are retiring, with Cena this year, Styles in 2026, and soon maybe Ray, Edge, or Randy. Let's enjoy every minute seeing them in action while we still can. I think that here in 2025, we are in a very, very unique and very good situation to be in. We are in a position where we get to see the greats of the past have long careers and not have to call it quits by 30 because of a traumatic brain damage, because of major injuries, because of major drug use that ruins their lives. We are in a time where wrestling is as healthy as it's ever been, which allows all of these names to be able to have careers into their late 40s, into their 50s. This is one of the reasons why I push back against people saying WWE is too too old. No, I would say that WWE is just really healthy, that it allows these stars to be able to be old and still participate at a high level, as opposed to the primes of their careers ending in their mid-30s like it used to be in the Ruthless Aggression era and in the Attitude era. And it just now has created this perfect storm where all of these names are now getting to end their careers simultaneously, all within a couple of years of one another. And it does allow us to say goodbye, but it also is a great way to completely rip your childhood from your soul directly, sadly. Excited to see AJ Lee interact with Charlotte and Alexa Bliss. Hopefully they just don't throw them together in a random segment Friday, and instead we get some on-screen introductions. This is definitely the very cool aspect of War Games. We get all of these interactions that otherwise wouldn't be possible or wouldn't make a tremendous amount of sense. This women's babyface team is so insanely stacked. We're talking about just Hall of Famers out the ass. Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, and now you're adding AJ freaking Lee. It's insane. And honestly, this is basically an all-star game. Both the men's and the women's teams are just so insanely stacked, where I'm at the point where I'm willing to just kind of throw my hands up and say, whatever, I guess if you don't even really want to run a story or anything, I guess I'm fine with it, because the teams are so stacked and the star power alone is carrying this. But yes, I would like to some degree, some interactions, some sort of relationships being formed within teammates or across enemy lines as well. But I am excited to see AJ Lee interacting in the WWE with somebody that isn't just Becky Lynch. But think about like the actual match as well. It's going to be that AJ Lee is going to get to have an interaction in a match and physicality with the likes of freaking Asuka, another main event and another Hall of Famer in her own right. This has to be one of the best episodes of Raw ever. So many returns: AJ Lee, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Dolph Ziggler, Gunther, a shocking title change, an incredible first time ever match between Javon and Gunther. This Raw absolutely cooked, and I'm even more hyped for Survivor Series now, and will 1,000,000% lose my voice come November 29th. I think the best way to describe this Monday Night Raw is that this felt like Raw after Mania, or like Raw building to WrestleMania levels of huge. We had major advancements in every division. You had the mid-card being advanced. You had a great match in the tournament. You had like a shock return, like you said, Nick Nemeth, but just the return of two insane main eventers in Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, which again, a reminder every single week that the product is just significantly better when Roman Reigns is around. I just wished that this didn't always get saved for the Madison Square Gardens of the world. I do wish and borderline expect good episodes of Monday Night Raw anywhere and everywhere. That might be a little bit selfish, but I also think I'm just being a consumer that wants to get the best product available. But yeah, this episode of Monday Night Raw was absolutely fantastic, damn near flawless. Even the things that I'm a little bit unsure about, like Maxine Dupree winning the Intercontinental Championship, get me excited about the prospect of what that looks like next. That is where this episode to me just killed it, where not only was it great in the moment for singular moments like the return of Dolph Ziggler and the great match between Javon and Gunther, but it also made me want to tune in to the next episode of Monday Night Raw, because that's where Raw has been lacking, because so many episodes of Raw this year and SmackDown I've finished and I'm like, I guess I'm tuning in next week, mostly because I have to, because I cover Raw and SmackDown for a living, but not because I want to, not because I'm excited. This made me excited for the next episode, and that has been a rarity this year. How is Triple H fumbling this hard? Cena versus Dom on Raw was perfect. Why are we running it back? When the GOAT is retiring, every match should feel special. No need for rematches. This is low-key Vince level booking. Vince level booking is like the most insane thing I've ever heard. Mostly everything I read here, I just completely disagree with. Here's the thing. It's not an uncommon take that people were upset that Dominic Mysterio and John Cena is being run back. I think, including me, before this all took place, I wanted, and a lot of people wanted, John Cena to interact with somebody brand new. Hey, let's give us another new matchup that we haven't seen, because like you're saying, we're running out of dates and times. However, when Dominic Mysterio came back out there, I completely threw that out the window, because I realized here what they were doing. Yes, they could have ran The Miz if they wanted to, or a brand new name and a brand new face for a one-off match with John Cena, but that would have been big for the moment. What they're doing here is actually, in the short amount of time that John Cena has left, MJF. Can you believe they're actually making a program out of this? They're actually making a story, multiple matches in like a 2-week stretch. We're going to get a full Dominic Mysterio and John Cena feud. And okay, sure, we kind of sacrifice a big special one-off moment that we could have had John Cena facing somebody else in Madison Square Garden. But you know what we're getting in return? We're sacrificing a one-off moment for the development and building of Dominic Mysterio, somebody with no exaggeration is going to be around for the next 20 years. I think this is far more valuable than a one-off fan servicey moment against The Miz, for example. I would rather John Cena be used in his last couple of days to create a new megastar on his way out to ensure that the business is protected for the next 20 years, because that's what Dominic Mysterio feuding with John Cena gives us. Maybe I'm trying to find a silver lining here, but I think in the long term, this is the correct choice for fans and for the business to try and create a long-term star in Dominic Mysterio. On top of that, we got our fan service. We got Sheamus. We got Rey Mysterio. I think this is the best of both worlds, if you ask me. So I completely disagree with you. I think it is a crazy thing to call this Vince level booking. This is, listen, there's been some bad booking this year. I don't think this is it. Seeing Dolph Ziggler in WWE again legitimately had me in tears. Man, that's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time and a future Hall of Famer. He got me to watch wrestling, a legend indeed. It's kind of crazy to think about the fact that there's probably a lot of people, maybe many of you watching this video, that never really got to experience Dolph Ziggler, because even though he was fired from WWE like not that long ago, in like, what was it, 2023, 2022, one of those 2 years, he was still kind of missing from the WWE main roster for a while. He spent a ton of time in NXT there towards the end of his career, but Dolph Ziggler is just simply one of the best workers that I've ever seen. I still think to this day that Dolph Ziggler is one of WWE's biggest what ifs. A lot of people have that being Finn Balor. I have that being Dolph Ziggler. I would say that Dolph Ziggler to a degree is like the Finn Balor of a previous generation. Dolph Ziggler is fantastic, and here's the thing, you can continue to watch Dolph Ziggler as Nick Nemeth in TNA, because I promise you he's still just as good, doing fantastic work there as well. But man, the pop, the nostalgia, listening to Wade Barrett lose his mind hearing Dolph Ziggler's music, it was just a good time. This whole episode was just a party, man. Iconic face-off after 3 years, still giving goosebumps. Doesn't matter what people say it is, Roman versus Brock is one of the greatest rivalries of the modern generation. It certainly is one of the rivalries of the modern generation. It's not my favorite. Most of the time, whenever they did run Roman versus Brock Lesnar, I didn't like it, and most people didn't like it either. I do think that there's a lot of graduation goggles here, a lot of rose-tinted glasses when it comes to the history of Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. It did end off really well with their stuff at SummerSlam, but for the most part, this feud was something that people were tired of and annoyed by and just simply disliked when it was happening in the 2010s. But I think the circumstances are a lot different. They are both part-timers. They are both legends. Roman Reigns is certainly significantly bigger in terms of his overall stature and importance in the WWE since the last time that these guys feuded in the 2010s, not including their 2022 feud when Roman was already tribal chief, head of the table. So I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm down for them to run this again. And I don't mind this because it is just two part-timers and it's not wasting the time and the effort of somebody that's a full-timer being there, not being able to build a feud against a part-timer. So if it's two part-timers against one another, I'm down. I will say this is the type of place where Brock Lesnar belongs. He did not belong anywhere near the party that should have been John Cena's retirement tour after turning babyface at SummerSlam. The whole Brock Lesnar and John Cena WrestlePalooza experiment should have never existed. John Cena should have been in War Games rather than facing Dom again. It would have been nice to see him pin Brock to make up for that match at WrestlePalooza. Listen, when it comes to the match at WrestlePalooza, in my head, it just didn't happen. And it seems like in WWE's head, it also didn't happen because they just completely glossed over everything that happened between Brock Lesnar and John Cena. They never really talked about it again after it actually happened, which is kind of nutty considering how big of a match that ultimately was. But hey, I actually disagree with you. I actually think the correct call is to keep John Cena away from War Games. I think that is a perfect place for John Cena to get injured 2 weeks out from his retirement show. Remember, the whole show is catered around John Cena's retirement, and if Cena were to get injured, that whole show is cooked. And I know he's in there with a bunch of safe workers, and I don't think that anyone would be unsafe enough to get him hurt, but it's War Games. It's unpredictable. Bodies are everywhere. Things are rolling all over the place. All it takes is John Cena not realizing that he might be accidentally about to roll his ankle ankle on a big ass Brock Lesnar laying on the ground. I think having Cena in a singles environment is the safest thing to do to make sure that we can get Cena to his retirement match. People talk about Braun Breaker and Jacob Fatu as future WrestleMania main eventers, yet neither of them are getting the John Cena rub in this retirement tour. Instead, it's Dominic, not once, but twice. To me, this indicates that Dom has been chosen as the guy for the future. It's not only just that, right? Like, there's also the fact that WWE is trusting Dominic Mysterio to basically be the face of an entire investment that they made, which was the purchase of AAA, by having him be the biggest star there, by having him be the world champion there. But you're right, and this goes back to what I was saying, where yeah, sure, they could have done like multiple one-offs for John Cena, but instead WWE is choosing to focus on laying the groundwork for the future by setting up Dominic Mysterio to get a major rub and a major push off of the back of this work with John Cena. And I think, again, in the long term, it's the correct choice. In the short term, I understand why that's not the sexiest choice to people, that John Cena should have had more fan servicey matches and one-offs, but I think I'm going to be grateful in the long term that this is what they decided to go with an actual build and an actual program with Dom. Did Roman just catch a felony? Yeah, Roman's like, F the police. This man speared 2 police officers through the barricade, which, by the way, WWE's like budget for these like fake police officer costumes has to be like dreadful. Those look like they were straight out of the clearance bin post Halloween and it's Spirit Halloween. Those are terrible NYPD outfits, but still hilarious to think about 2 New York City police officers getting speared through the barricade. Jimmy Uso is a huge polar bear in Arlington on his Survivor Series team. I would love to see him get subbed for someone else. Cough, cough, LA Knight, cough, cough. I agree and disagree. I do think that like when you compare him to like the star power that's there, even like the popularity of his own brother and Jey Uso, that Jimmy is a little bit of a sore thumb here, but he also makes sense, you know, because he has been feuding with the Vision. I know LA Knight has too, don't get me wrong. If anything, the random addition to this is Cody Rhodes, but Cody Rhodes makes sense because of his insane star power and the insane star power of the rest of the heels and the baby faces as well. Jimmy certainly is like down here in terms of like overall star power, but at least he makes sense with the narrative, and it's going to be OG bloodline in there as well with Jay, Jimmy, and Roman, so that's kind of cool. I know you're not the biggest fan of how the teams came together, but I think after that ending of Raw, this War Games match had the potential to be one of the best matches in recent memory. I don't disagree, and yes, you're right. I also am of the mind that this hasn't come together very nicely, that there really isn't a reason for this match to really even exist aside from the fact that, hey, it's War Game season, so we need a War Games match. And yes, I would have liked and preferred good narrative, good story, good booking, good dynamics and interactions and reasons for relationship building between the teams and across enemy lines. All of that would be nice. Normally, I would scoff at a feud not having any of those things. I do believe that all of that stuff is very important in professional wrestling. But if you're gonna inject it with that much star power, even I might actually be okay with it, because this is basically like an NBA All-Star game when it comes to both the men's and the women's War Games matches. They're insanely stacked to the point where even me, somebody that wants to see good booking and storytelling and narrative, I'm willing to put that aside just for the sake of like, oh, big match is big. WWE fumbled having Maxine win the Intercontinental title, especially when you had Becky versus AJ Lee right there for the title. It would have elevated the women's Intercontinental title even more, especially since it's a new title. Hope that Becky regains the title before this feud starts really going. I don't think that's going to end up happening. I think this is WWE removing the Intercontinental title from the equation so that there is no baggage. I don't think it's baggage, but it seems like WWE might be seeing it as baggage that might be weighing down the Becky Lynch and AJ Lee feud. I personally agree. I would have liked this match and this feud to be for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, mostly because I'm afraid that now that Maxine has the title, that they're going to bury this division like they did over on Friday Night SmackDown. Unfortunately, we have plenty of evidence that when a Maxine level character holds a mid-card title, that WWE just simply won't care, as you can see, case in point over on Friday Night SmackDown, sadly. If WWE decided that Roxanne Perez isn't exactly ready for a huge push to the world title picture, seeing as she's eating pins, I can see this match being a real possibility. You can swap out Roxanne for like any woman on the roster. You could swap out Roxanne for any NXT call-up if you want to. That actually is the beauty of Maxine Dupri winning the Intercontinental Championship, is that the division can now become a revolving door of who's who. The finals of this tournament are very hard to determine considering they have Gunther and Carmelo Hayes on the same side. I mean, I don't think it's hard to determine. I think this is designed for Gunther. Get ready to learn the lyrics of Symphony Number 9 in E minor, fella, because Gunther is winning this thing. He got his old theme back, and he got his old fighting robe back. This guy's winning the damn thing. Just be ready for it. But it does look like WWE is doing what I thought they were going to do. That yes, Gunther is going to win, but along the way, we're going to give Gunther all of the best possible matches to put on Match of the Year contenders. The first one with Javon Evans, and hopefully the second one with Carmelo Hayes, and maybe the third one with Sheamus. I don't know. There are so many awesome available options for matches with Gunther. However, when I look at the tournament bracket, fellas, I am concerned that the final is going to be Gunther versus Jey Uso. So somebody talk me down from this ledge, because I think that's what's going to happen. Cena not being in War Games makes this so much more pointless than it already was. Genuinely one of my top hated matches in history. Oh, I'll just tell you right now, it's my top hated match in WWE history. I've never been more angry at a match. It just shouldn't exist. And whatever. Okay, Cena's not going to get his back. Whatever. Just keep Brock Lesnar away from Cena. Keep Brock Lesnar away from this party, because we're having fun with the retirement tour again. I'm honestly not moved by this feud. It just feels like a filler feud until War Games is over and/or waiting until Naomi comes back. Yeah, I would agree that this is a bit of a filler feud, but at least it's a feud. You know, they could have easily just not done anything with Stephanie Vaquette in War Games and just relied on the big women's War Games match as the big women's match. But at the very least, they're doing something to keep our champion busy while all of the other stars that we actually want her to feud with are busy in the big War Games match. Listen, this whole segment, I like the heel turn. This segment didn't do it for me. This was a poor follow-up to the big heel turn. This should have been far more violent, because she literally hit Stephanie once, and then that paralyzed Stephanie for the next 5 minutes as Nikki Bella cut her promo, which was, by the way, actually a pretty decent promo. It just, the attack, I don't know, it wasn't a great follow-up to her actually pretty good heel turn. All right, folks, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Hot Takes, big episode of Monday Night Raw. Again, check out the Patreon for the full review. That's it. Goodbye. Take care. Get out of here.